I love that song. Welcome to Primetime, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sinister's Horror Stash. Pulling out of the stash this week, we have the 2000s horror classic, American Psycho. Joined as always with my friend, the Hitman, Hunter Shambles. What's up, man?
How's it going, guys? Another week, another episode of the Horror Stash. We are bringing up, in my opinion, an absolute classic with the year 2000's American Psycho, which, if you guys didn't know, was based off of a Bret Easton Ellis book. So, a little background information on American Psycho. Ellis considered his controversial novel unfilmable due to its graphic nature, but producer Edward R. Pressman was determined to adapt it and bought the film rights in 1992. These three names were in talks to direct it. Stuart Gordon, who we talked about with 1985's Reanimator,
Mm-hmm.
David Cronenberg, and Rob Weiss were all considered to direct the film before Herron and Turner began writing the screenplay in 1996. This was also supposed to have a young Leonardo DiCaprio in the role, but the studio wanted Leo DiCaprio in the role, but Herron was dismissed and replaced with Oliver Stone. She was then brought back because she wanted Christian Bale for the role.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know do you know what Christian Bale did before this? Did he have any like major acting credits?
I
I'm
don't.
looking.
I think this was one of his bigger, like his first big role.
Let's see. Yeah, I think so because he was in like a couple things, but nothing big. Kind of like TV movies and shows. So yeah, this was his first role. So Mary Herron taking a risk, and because she obviously saw what she wanted to portray, and saw her vision in Christian Bale, and obviously the producers first go around didn't agree with her and got rid of her.
Yeah.
And when they couldn't get it done with Oliver Stone, she comes back. And I love the idea that she was like, if I'm coming back, I'm using the actor I want.
Exactly.
And so, she gets her actor, she gets the that freedom to be able to choose the actor that she gets. And I'm telling you right now, it's the right choice. It's the right choice.
100%.
Like that's why, like, seeing that this was Christian Bale's like one of his first big roles is crazy because he's amazing in this movie. He is putting on a performance that this does feel like a slasher movie from the beginning, and then it slowly devolves into this psychological horror of what the hell, like he's going through this psychological horror of not realizing what's going on, starting to realize how much he has lost his mind, more, I guess, and him able to do that this early in his career, amazing. And I mean, Christian Bale will go down as like one of the all-time greats. I think he has his filmography speaks for itself. But this was the start of it all, American Psycho, and what a start! What a start!
Yeah, what a start! And if you guys are wondering why we went from urban legend last week to this week talking about American Psycho, it's because one Jared Leto plays a role in both of those films, and both named playing a character named Paul. Funny enough.
Yes. Jared Leto making his return to the horror stash.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and get
episodes in a row.
Yeah, well, let's first go with our thoughts. I love this movie. This is not the first time I've seen this movie. I've seen this movie probably since I've been watching horror movies, which I'm actually a pretty late bloomer to horror movies. Probably like my fifth time seeing this movie. Considering I haven't been watching since I was a kid. I didn't really start watching until I turned like 16, 17 is when I started watching. I've seen this movie quite a good amount of times, and I loved it. I think I watched it this most recent time. I loved it just as much as I did before, if not more. Just seeing the different the way that the way it delves into the psychological at the end, psychological horror at the end. That's something I don't think hit me as well. That
Mhm.
ending, that really bleak ending that you get at the end, that means more. Me as me as a now 30-year-old man. Um,
Yep.
that idea of not that's terrifying. The idea that like even though he was doing horrible things, like to realize in that moment of horror, like did I imagine all of that stuff? Did I
He's a nobody.
like I'm exactly. He's a nobody. He like
Hmm.
and that's his ultimate horror. That's his biggest fear is being a nobody in this yuppie culture. So let's go ahead and get into the movie.
So good.
We open up. It's 1987, so it is a period piece.
Hey, yeah.
We are introduced Patrick Bateman doing his push-ups, doing his workout in his underwear
This
with
whole scene is so beautiful because it's a one shot of his apartment building, and if you
Mhm,
notice, there's no color. There's nothing. There's white walls. You got a small ass TV. It's very minimalist,
and the
but
only color is in the mask that he's wearing
yep.
because that's what
And
he
he's
does.
literally masking his outside his outside nature.
Exactly. He's that's the only thing that we can that we that's the thing that we're drawn to because he has
Mm.
to wear a mask in order to hide who he really is in this. But he is a businessman. I don't really know if anyone knows what he does. I don't even know. This is one of those like it's one of those like companies where there are probably people there that don't do anything, but they get a
Nope.
paycheck every couple weeks, and it's a very nice
They
paycheck.
argue about business cards.
They argue about business cards. They're bragging about these business cards that look exactly the same.
That's
Uh,
the great thing. They look exactly the same, but because their egos are so big and they have
mhm.
to outdo each other, the same cards are like, oh, he's got this white print that is in this bold lettering, but it says the exact same thing on it.
Yes, and we kind of start seeing a glimpse into his life that he is living. They go to these fancy restaurants. He's with a woman that doesn't really want to be with him. That I
Played
don't think
by Reese
he really wants to be
Witherspoon.
with. Played by Reese Witherspoon. And this is such a different role to take. Like this is not how you normally see Reese Witherspoon. She's normally like the good girl, the all American type of person.
I mean, she kind of is the good girl in this one. Like, she doesn't do anything to Patrick Bateman.
But I think it's like and this is where one like a delve into my life. I am not the biggest fan of Reese Witherspoon, and when I tell people this,
Ooh.
they do the exact face that you did. Where they're like, "What?" Like I've had this argument with my girlfriend where I'm like, "I don't
Mhm.
really like care for Reese Witherspoon," and she's just like, "What?" Yeah, I'm not like the biggest fan. I don't like enjoy
Instant breakup.
everything, and it's just like, and everyone that I say that to looks at me the same way. Where they're like, "You're fine." And it's like the thing is like I don't even dislike her. It's just like when people are like, "Oh, Reese Witherspoon's in this movie," I'm just like, "Okay." Like
You sound like Omar Epps at the beginning of Scream 2 with Sandra Bullock, where he's like, "Ain't nobody want to watch uh, a Sandra Bullock rom com."
yeah. I'm that's I will watch a Sandra Bullock rom com any day, but Reese Witherspoon, nah, I'm good. But yeah, so he's and they clearly have a Patrick and his fiance Evelyn Williams, played by Reese Witherspoon. They clearly don't have a good relationship. They don't like each other, but they kind of tolerate each other. It's more of a it's a it's a business transaction of a relationship, which is never a relationship you want to be in. Um, they go to these fancy restaurants. He's usually drinking. This man is not like these people. These businessmen don't work. They are just drinking on the job. Uh,
Not at all.
if they're not drinking in their office, then they're drinking at a restaurant, eating
Mhm.
expensive foods, expensive salads,
I
expensive.
love the dinner scene with Reese Witherspoon's what is it, her cousin and
Mhm.
her boyfriend.
Yeah.
It's like what are their names? It's like Slash and
Uh,
something.
let's see. I don't have it.
But like
Stash.
Evelyn's stash, yes.
His stash.
And they're like completely the polar opposite of
Mhm.
Evelyn and Patrick in like every way.
Yeah, they like each other.
Yeah.
They enjoy each other. They enjoy each other's company, and these two clearly don't. Um,
Yep.
So then that's when in the scene they're having lunch. The businessmen are having lunch, and they all decide to start showing off their business cards. Patrick shows his card, and then the next guy pulls his out, and it's like eggshell. Who cares? And then Paul Allen pulls his card out. It has the engraved. It has the engraving, so it's you can
Oh my
feel
god.
you can
You
feel
have
the
a
lettering.
mark.
Yes.
That's
Oh
my
yeah.
favorite line.
Like and what I like about this scene is that all the other guys that are looking at this, they're just like, yeah, like damn, that's a nice card.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're acknowledging that it's a nice card and all that stuff. They're not
And
taking
Patrick can't.
Yeah, and Patrick cannot handle the fact that Paul Allen has a better
The
business.
one thing I also love is that in this scene, everybody looks the exact fucking same.
Oh yeah, is hold on, because I'm pretty sure I recognize. Yeah, Justin Theroux's in this.
Yep. Writer of one of the Iron Man movies, surprisingly.
Yeah, Justin Theroux. Who
Iron
was
Man
he
3, I think,
married to
right?
for a long time? I forgot who he was married to for. He was married to someone famous for a long time. Wasn't it like Jennifer Aniston or something? Like
Yeah.
Justin Theroux is always one of those guys that like he'll just pop up random. He pops up in a Star Wars movie. He has no lines.
Yeah.
Like Justin Theroux he just pops up. He's just one of those guys that will always he's always when he pops up, you're always like, hey, Justin Theroux. Like
Funny enough, Josh Lucas is in this movie as well as one of the asshole businessmen. And I believe he was in a movie with Reese Witherspoon, Sweet Home Alabama.
Sweet Home Alabama. Yeah.
Yep.
So there are some very, very noticeable faces in this movie.
Dude, the entire cast is stacked.
Yeah, and then obviously Jared Leto is Paul Allen.
And then you've got Willem Dafoe as Donald Kimball.
I'll watch Willem Dafoe in anything.
Me too.
He's one of my favorites. My favorite movie of his, Boondock Saints.
Nice.
Yeah, so that there was a firefight. I love them. I love that scene. Yeah, let's go ahead and get back into the movie. Enraged, Bateman walks out of the restaurant, finds a homeless man and his dog, and
get a goddamn job, Al.
Just murders him. And it's
his dog. Oh.
It's sad to see. It's the dog's death's what pushes it over.
So if you want to be even more sad, in the novel, I don't know if you know this in the novel, it goes about the same. He kills Al, but he pops the eyes out of the dog.
Ooh. How does he kill the dog in this one? I totally forgot.
It's off. It's like a long shot of the alley. He just steps on the dog.
Okay, yeah. I was like, was it a
neck snap?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, man. Ooh, brutal, but more brutal in the book, for sure. So, so there's the running joke in the movie that Bateman's character keeps getting Bateman keeps getting called something else. What is he being called? Why am I what's his name?
He at one point gets confused with Paul Allen.
Okay, yeah,
I know that
with Paul Allen, and there's even a point where they start talking about Bateman to Bateman.
Yeah, and they don't realize it.
And that's like the first hint that okay, this Bateman guy is not.
And
who
what
he
a lot of
thinks
people
he is.
who don't, I'm not trying to generalize this, but a lot of people who don't like this movie for certain reasons, they always go to taking this movie too seriously. This movie is supposed to be a black comedy satire on the male
culture,
on rich culture, on male toxicity, on masculine, on what it means to be a man in New York in the 80s. The book was also written to be this satire on man culture.
Yeah, exactly. And um, it delves into the psyche of one of these people who is like super obsessed with just money, super obsessed with having the fanciest of things,
Yep.
and the reasoning behind those things, which is this
I
obvious
get it because I'm rich.
insecurity. Yeah, this obvious insecurity that they have. They don't have any connections. Like that's the one thing about Patrick Bateman is he doesn't have any connections to anybody. He doesn't have any real connections because he can't fake those emotions and fake those feelings. And the only person.
One of my favorite scenes that we kind of skipped over. Sorry for interrupting you again, but the scene where he's at the bar at the very beginning of the movie, and his card keeps getting declined, and the great thing about it is you're looking in the mirror of the female bartender, and he goes, "Because you're an ugly, stupid bitch." Now, what's great is you don't know if he actually said that or if he's thinking it, because she doesn't acknowledge it or she doesn't turn around. But she could have also heard it and has heard that shit before being a bartender, and it's just rolled off her back.
Yeah, like it's just like I'm not gonna engage with you.
Yeah.
Thing. So that's one of the great. That's the thing that makes this movie work is the fact that like everything, especially after you see it the first time, and seeing it your second time and your third time, you're wondering what's real, what isn't real, and you're not ever really actually given an actual answer.
You're not
based off of whatever you're feeling, whatever you're thinking. Like the end, we'll get to the ending later, but like with this, I choose to think that it was in his head. I think that was a moment of like letting it out, but he didn't actually.
He finally just snaps.
Yeah, but I don't think he actually says it. I think that's just what he wants to say, which I think is going to be a common theme in what I think about this movie and what I think of the Patrick Bateman character.
Yeah, there's also a scene where he keeps he's at the dry cleaners, and the is this before or after he gets the prostitute?
I think this is after he gets the prostitute.
Well, no, because he doesn't kill her in that scene. He lets her go. She's just beaten up. So this is before.
Okay.
Because he has this stain on his blanket that he's explaining, hey, it's wine or it's grape juice or whatever.
Yes, before.
He says it is, but you can clearly see that's darker than grape juice. So that's blood. So that says that he's already been killing people already and is using the, oh, this is wine or this is grape juice as an example to kind of sneak past the, hey, what is this red stain doing on your bed sheets?
Yeah. So we're kind of going after Alan mistakes Bateman for another coworker. That's when they go to they make plans to go to dinner after a Christmas party, and then this is, I think, because I listened to the Horror Queers episode on this. There is some homoerotic like themes to this.
Yes.
It does seem like it does at points seem like Patrick Bateman is trying to seduce Paul Allen, but what he wants to do is he wants to bring him in to show him some Huey Lewis in the News.
I fucking love this scene so much.
He puts on Hip to Be Square. This is where, like, I think this is like a side of Christian Bale I don't think I've seen. Like this, like, because he's talking about Huey Lewis in the News. He's doing one of those things where what I think people who are obsessed with like the fineness of things and like knowing everything about something is that he's probably read every single review about Huey Lewis in the News, and he's basically, when he's talking to someone,
regurgitating that.
Yeah, he's not actually giving his own thoughts and feelings about it.
He doesn't have an original thought in his head. He's going by what other people say. Yeah,
so he's regurgitating this review of it, and all while he's doing this, he's doing his little dance,
get his little raincoat on.
Yeah, he's getting his raincoat on. There's even like Paul Allen's like wondering like, why
you got a cat or something?
Yeah. And
no, Paul.
Paul, and he grabs the axe, and he's still talking. He's still giving his speech about Huey Lewis in the News, and he just goes, "Hey, Paul."
Oh.
And Paul turns around, and then boom, axe to the face.
Shout out to Ice Nine Kills for Hip to Be Scared. That
Hip to
fucking
Be
music video was so good.
Yes, and I love. I mean, I can talk Iceland Kills all day.
Jacob
Then
Shaddix from Papa Roach playing the Paul Allen character.
Jacoby
Perfect.
Shaw, Paul, the
Spencer as
Spencer doing the actual dance. I love it. The actual like 80s feel like breakdown in the middle where you're like,
it's so
what
good.
is going on? And then it goes into the hey Paul, and and it's filmed the exact same way in the music video where you don't see the axe going into into Paul, which is I think it helps the mainstream feel the movie, not showing that. Even though I'm sure in the book it's described in grotesque detail.
Probably.
And so he murders Paul. He brings him down. He bringing the pieces down in the.
I love the fact that he's bringing down the pieces. You can see the blood, and the bellhop doesn't do anything.
Yeah, Belle's like, "Do you need help?" Or like, "You're going out? Are you heading out for going out for like a long trip? I think or something." And he's just like, "Yeah."
And he puts Paul's body in the fucking taxi, in the back of the taxi, and just moves on.
And that's it. That's the end of that. All right, and then he disposes of the body, and he goes to Alan's apartment. This is where like you're seeing the serial killer aspects, where he's covering up his tracks. He's going to Alan's apartment to leave a message, basically saying that he's going to London. Everyone's gonna think that like, no, Paul Allen's not missing. He's in London. And that's when we're after a little bit, and now Paul Allen's being reported missing. Donald Kimball, played by Willem Dafoe, is introduced, and he is the one. He's the private investigator who is looking into the disappearance of Paul Allen. He's not a police officer because the police are not looking into a murder or into a disappearance because Paul Allen's in London. So Donald Kimball's following it. Which is it ever told who hires Kimball?
I don't think so. I think it's just left out in the open where it's like maybe this is something that he is interested in. Or
maybe he's imagining it. I don't know. Like that's what I thought of right now. I was like, wait, private investigator, who hired him? We don't know.
To be fair, Paul Allen's family could have hired him if they suspect that something could have happened. But you don't need a scene of Paul Allen's family doing that. It moves better when we just go from that scene to now a private investigator, coming in and kind of suspecting Patrick Bateman right off the bat.
Yeah. Just something I was thinking about.
Yeah.
But he comes to Bateman, starts interviewing him. I guess like he had been tipped off that they were meeting together at the party and stuff, and they had some drinks. So he's looking into him. Bateman is super. There's not a moment in this movie when he's talking to Kimball that he looks like he's getting away with anything. He looks completely guilty. He's not capable of lying very well.
Really, I actually thought in this scene he kind of held it together well because he's like, and later on when he starts hallucinating and shit, that's where he breaks down. But this moment, he's just sitting back doing his crossword puzzles with the glasses on. He's nonchalant about it because he knows that, hey, everyone thinks Paul Allen's in London. I got nothing to worry about.
So maybe I'm just putting my thoughts about the scenes in the
probably
there. But, so then we cut to Bateman. He gets these two sex workers, brings them to his apartment, and he tortures.
This scene is rough.
Yeah, this is a not enjoyable scene. This is he's very off-putting. It's very predatory, which is weird because you hire two sex workers. You don't need to be predatory. You don't need to be weird. Just you're paying for it.
He does it to feel something, which is what most serial killers say, is that they kill because they want to feel something.
And so he tortures them. I don't believe that you said he doesn't kill the sex workers.
Yeah, he doesn't kill them.
But he definitely leaves marks on them and stuff like that. Like
so he tortures them, beats them because one of them has a black eye, and then pays them and they leave. because
Yeah.
that comes back around when he tries to hire her again to be to meet with him and his friend.
Yeah, and then after that, we're cut to Bateman with his colleagues again, and Mr. Lewis Carruthers comes up,
Yep.
shows his card, and Bateman, obviously not happy about it, goes to the
Bateman
restaurant.
turns into a fucking Jalo villain instantly with the black gloves and shit.
Yeah, he follows Carruthers into the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to strangle him, and Carruthers turns around and completely mistakes it.
Misreads the entire situation.
And thinks that Bateman is coming on to him, and Bateman just kind of, he's not like, it's weird, he's not like offended, he's not angry, he just kind of like,
Really, I actually thought he was very offended because if you notice in the scene, he doesn't know what to think, and
yeah,
then he gets so grossed out, he washes his hands with the gloves on.
he does wash his hands with this guy. I did forget about the washing his hands with the gloves on, but yeah, like, it's not like the outright explosion that I think that
No. It's not outrage of like, no, I'm not gay. It's more of what did you think I was about to do to you?
Yeah. So then he leaves in the panic, gets out, and then Kimball comes back a second time.
Yeah.
And this is where you said he's questioning him, and Bateman is not coming off very very sneaky. He's
slowly starting to unravel at this moment.
Yeah, he's not able to, like, he's like, I think he's one point he says, I don't remember where I was at, and then Kimball calls him out and he goes, oh yeah, I didn't mean that, and like that's
right, yeah,
and like that's like a clear indication to any kind of law enforcement officer that you are lying,
because you're changing your story constantly.
And so then after that, because he was completely thrown off and befuddled by Kimball, and he's clearly unraveling, he decides to murder a model. And he puts her severed head in the freezer. Which I did hear that in the book, there are hints that there are actually scenes in the book where he eats. He does. He consumes the bodies. We only get a mention of it in the movie. When he's talking to his lawyer. So yeah, then he invites his secretary, who his secretary is very, very interested in him.
Which I love this moment because it seems like his secretary Jean, he actually kind of likes her. Like, not, I don't know if it's romantic, but he has this kind of respect for her, because even he's like, he compliments her. He's like, oh, next time wear a dress because it really shows off, make look more feminine. And to him, that's more of a compliment than that, hey, don't tell her what to fucking wear, you asshole. But to him, it's him trying to kind of, I guess, flirt with her in a way.
I also think it's part of, like, that was the expectation back then in that time period in 1987, is that the woman was supposed to be, like, attractive, and that's how the woman would kind of keep their job. And so he wanted her to keep her job. He didn't want her to end up, like,
lose her job,
fired, or just not even, like, necessarily getting fired for doing anything wrong, but just like kind of being forgotten. Which is like a fear of his, is like people not knowing who he is. So he is helping her in that way. And he does respect her. And I think he also has a kind of soft spot for her, which we'll see later, because she is genuinely interested in him. She shows actual interest in him, and I think that's why he can't go.
Unlike Evelyn, who is just with him for the money.
With him for the money, for the status, and all that stuff. Whereas she's actually likes him as a person. She's interested in him as a person, and we saw those like little glimpses earlier in the film and in earlier scenes. But this is like where you see it when he takes her out. He asked her out first, and he tells her to pick anywhere, and of course she picks Dorsia, which is the one place that he can't get into.
Dude, Dorsia is everywhere in this fucking movie. I love it. There's a scene where he takes somebody to, I think it's called Bar Cicada. And it's like, this one girl he's with, she's like, this is Dorcia? And he goes, absolutely. And he has it's a fucking menu says Barcita.
Yeah. There's the comedic side of the movie.
Yep.
And all played well by Patrick Bateman. I mean, by
Paul Allen and Bateman actually have a really good scene before he dies in the in a restaurant that's not Dorcia. They're sitting right next to each other, and again, the same thing of like Paul Allen is one so drunk, but two, Patrick Bateman keeps getting confused with other people to the point where Paul Allen makes fun of Patrick Bateman in front of Patrick Bateman, and he doesn't notice. He's like,
yeah,
Patrick Bateman, what a fucking loser.
yeah. And like again, the performance of Christian Bale is key in this movie, and the fact that Mary Herron took that risk and it completely paid off. Like that's insane, and it's why this movie is a classic. I think a horror classic.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, then
he invites the secretary.
He invites the secretary to his house for a drink, and he's about to kill her with the nail gun. He literally has it pointed to her head, right behind her, and
I love this scene.
She's talking to him, and then the message, the missed call from Evelyn comes up, and it's the hurt that Evelyn shows. I think
Jean shows.
Jean. That Jean shows when she realizes like, oh, you're still with her.
With Evelyn.
And that might be like the first moment of humanity in Patrick. Is when he lets her leave. He lets her go.
That's a great scene because she's like, she hears the phone, the message from Evelyn. She goes, "You want me to leave?" And he's got the nail gun still at her head. And he goes, "Yeah, leave." Mm-hmm. That's the one person that he doesn't kill in this movie.
Mm-hmm. So then Bateman has lunch with Kimball again, and he reveals to Bateman that a colleague of Bateman claims to have had dinner with him on the day of Alan's disappearance. Basically saying like you're in the clear. You're not the killer of him. And Kimball brings up that the idea of one of Alan's friends murdering him for no reason is simply not believable.
To which he nervously smiles.
Which he just smiles, and like he got away with it again. Like it's like Bateman every step of the way just gets by, just gets by clean, and it's not even because he's trying very hard. It's literally because he's literally having a meltdown.
He is a nobody to the point where nobody suspects he could kill anybody.
Yeah, and that's what leads to the meltdown that he ends up having.
The best thing about the scene with him and Jean is that one, we know he meets up with a model, but at that moment we don't know what he does to her. So when he opens the freezer and offers her ice cream, and you just see the frozen head in a fucking bag, perfect scene. Because it shows that he is such a psychopath that he's going there just fucking eating ice cream while a severed head is right in his freezer. Yeah,
he's no remorse, no
remorse at all.
Nothing. There's nothing. We'll get that later. So then Bateman brings Christy to Paul Allen's apartment and invites the sex worker Elizabeth back over there. And he drugs Christy. And this is an interesting scene, too, because this is like that time that he tries to do something that he did earlier with the other sex worker, where he was forcing them to have sex with each other. And at first, Christy's like, "What? No." And then it cuts to them hooking up, the two girls hooking up.
Yeah.
And Patrick Bateman is just rambling on about, I think it's Whitney Houston.
No, it's
it's a female singer.
Is it Whitney Houston? I thought it was a male. I thought it was the guy who did In the Air Tonight.
No, it wasn't. I don't think it was Patrick Bateman. because she's like, you listen to, I feel like you listen to Whitney and like kind of offended him, and it's like in that moment he didn't think, like he wasn't aware of.
It was Phil Collins.
Oh, it was Phil Collins? Oh, okay. Damn, I don't know why I thought it was Whitney.
Because I'm looking at the scene, right, or not watching the scene, but it's his friend and the sex worker in that scene.
Okay. And it's like because it's a whole like you're into like you like Phil Collins, like weirdo.
Which in the air tonight is a fucking masterpiece.
Yes.
So.
And so was the Tarzan soundtrack.
Yes.
Amazing, but different time.
Yeah.
This was later. I mean, this was before that. He wasn't able to create at least the Tarzan masterpiece that we know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when In the Air Tonight came out. But yeah, so he in that moment is offended, and he's going. Then he's able to like kind of deflect. I think he ignores her. He ignores what she's saying. He continues saying what he's saying, and then he starts hooking up with them, and he is going down on Christy, and it's weird. He sounds like very animalistic, and then Elizabeth pulls the covers away, and it's revealed that he is actually eating her. He is eating her like completely, and
he's not eating her. He's eating her.
He's eating her, and Elizabeth realizes it, takes off, and he's chasing after her with a chainsaw.
One of the most iconic scenes in this fucking movie, man.
Greatly recreated by Ice Nine Kills by Spencer Charnas.
Yes, in the fucking tidy whities he's wearing with a fucking chainsaw.
So he chases her with a chainsaw, and this is around the time where you're like, I guess once you do your second rewatch and third rewatch, is like, okay, I think a lot of this is starting to be in his head because no one comes out. He's running.
I have a theory about that at the end of the movie. Okay. At the end of this recap, I will explain my reasoning of this.
Yeah. Okay. This is where I start to realize. I start to think like, okay, this might be starting to be in his head because there's literally there's no one coming out. No one's coming out to see what this noisy chainsaw noise is. And she's running down the stairs, and he just drops the chainsaw.
Which is a fucking iconic shot, man. He's just laughing.
Yeah. And he just laughs at her, and it cuts to the floor. She's laying there. All you see is the feet. All you see is her feet, the blood on the floor, and the chainsaw sitting there on the floor. And so he kills her, and then shortly after this, Bateman breaks off his engagement with Evelyn. She does not take it seriously at first, so it sounds like this is something that's happened before, where like they had this talk where he was like, he's probably, who knows how many times he's finally like admitted to her like, I'm done, and she wouldn't accept it, but this time he like holds tight to it, and like
they are very toxic to each other.
Yes, they're not compatible.
Nope.
So that's the last that we see of Evelyn. She is gone after this. And on the way, Bateman uses the ATM. He sees the cat, and on the ATM machine it says, "Feed me a stray cat."
Stray cat.
And so he
tries.
He puts it in there. He tries. And when
old lady seeing him,
the old lady walking up behind him, and he just shoots her, just right there in
the open.
Everybody. And immediately after this is when the police chase ensues. This is when the movie gets crazy. It starts moving at a.
This is GTA levels of like 5+ star rating. You got fucking helicopters. You got the SWAT team. You got the police.
He blows up a patrol car.
He blows up a dude. That scene is so funny. He blows it up, and he's looking at the gun like that actually worked.
Yeah, and so he's able to get away. He kills a security guard and a janitor before getting into his office. He
just walks in and shoots the fucking guard in the head.
Yeah, he gets into his office and he calls his lawyer Harold Carnes.
Such a fucking great thing. Again, Ice Nine Kills did a great job at recreating this for their song.
and he's coming out with everything. He says that he's killed 20 to 40 people, and he's eaten some of the brains. And like when he says that he's eaten some of the brains, it's very like, I'm not. I get it's like a
He doesn't want to admit it.
I did eat their brains. Like it's not.
The great thing is that like he goes, Paul Allen. I killed Paul Allen, and his body is dissolving in a tub in Hell's Kitchen.
Yes. Oh, and I forgot to mention that we did see the apartment when Elizabeth is running. She does find the bodies. When we're like, where are all the bodies being held? They're in a closet. And so then Bateman, the next morning, he goes to Paul Allen's apartment to clean it, and he finds that it's vacant and it's for sale. The realtor tells him that the apartment does not belong to Allen before asking him to leave and then not come back. So this is clearly not the apartment that he thought it was. Nothing that was in there before was in there anymore. And he leaves. He's freaked out. He calls Jean, and then he goes to meet with the colleagues for lunch. And when she walks into Bateman's office, she sees the notebook that is all these horrible drawings, all these horrible graphic images of decapitations, mutilations, nudity, all kinds of things, constantly like curse words written all over the page, completely covering it, and she's horrified. And all while this is happening, Bateman sees Carnes, and they have this conversation. And Carnes thinks that that the message was a mistake, thinks that it's like a joke. Yeah, like, man, you got me good, man. And Bateman's like, no, like you don't understand. Like
I actually killed Paul.
Yeah, and then once he says it enough, Carnes starts to realize like that he. Not that he believes him, but that Bateman believes what he's saying. And that's when Carnes comes out and says that he just had dinner with Paul Allen in London. And Bateman is freaked out. He's not understanding what's going on. He goes back to his friends. They're talking about dinner reservations, talking about Ronald Reagan, talking about just things on the news, right? And Bateman there is just silently having his realization, like, is everything that I did, everything in these past days, weeks, I don't know how, I forget how much time has passed, has everything been in my head? Nothing. Is none of this real? And that's when you get, I gotta find the quote, because what a way to like.
The one thing I love is that in this scene, him and his friends are discussing if Ronald Reagan is a harmless old man or a hidden psychopath. And they're talking about that right in front of a psychopath with Patrick Bateman.
Right in front of the hidden psychopath. This is Bateman's last lines. He says, there are no more barriers to cross. All I have in common with the uncontrollable and the insane, the vicious and the evil, all the mayhem I have caused and my utter indifference toward it, I have now surpassed. My pain is constant and sharp, and I do not hope for a better world for anyone. In fact, I want my pain to be inflicted on others. I want no one to escape. But even after admitting this, there is no catharsis. My punishment continues to elude me, and I gain no deeper knowledge of myself. No new knowledge can be extracted from my telling. This confession has meant nothing.
Nothing.
Like, what a haunting, dark way to end this movie. Leaving you completely like that last scene, that last monologue of like what he wants, and how much like this is the first time that we're kind of hearing him talk about pain. Yeah, saying that he's in a constant state of pain, and thus wants to inflict
pain onto others.
But because he can't feel the pain of, he can't feel that like pain,
the judgment.
He doesn't feel anything. He's able to do what he does, but he's not able. But he doesn't. He can't confess. The confession means nothing because he is nothing. He is nothing in this world, which is the thing that brings him the most pain.
Dude,
what a dark ending.
What a dark fucking ending. My aspect on this whole thing, I do think most of it is real.
Okay.
I think, especially in the third act, I think there are some moments that are in his imagination. So, like, there are examples like the Feed Me the Stray Cat. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
I don't think he blew up the car because he looked surprised that he did that. But I do think he murdered Paul Allen. I do think that he murdered the sex workers. I think everything leading up to kind of the over the top endings. I think the over the top things in the third act didn't happen. But the things that, like him shooting the security guard, I think that happened. That's realistic. I think him shooting the janitor did happen. What I think happened at the end is, I think because his family is so rich, we know his family is rich, and that people don't really care about Patrick Bateman. I think his family just covered it up because they knew nobody would suspect Patrick Bateman because he is a nobody. He's somebody that can blend in with everybody and get away with it scot free. And I think that's what really drives him insane, is that he wants the recognition of the things he did, and the parents are not letting him do that because that would tarnish their name.
Interesting. The Paul Allen thing, I don't think he killed Paul Allen, but I think he killed someone. And this is not my theory. This is, I think I got from a video that I've seen, like theories of what happened.
Yeah.
I think Paul Allen, because Patrick Bateman was able to pretend to be Paul Allen in multiple situations. So Paul Allen was a known name, but not a known face to people. I think he killed someone who was pretending to be Paul Allen.
Oh, I didn't think about that. That is smart.
So that's why Carnes is like, no, I wasn't in with Paul Allen.
Or Bateman thought that Jared Leto's character was Paul Allen.
Yeah.
Stakens that he's not, and that's what confused him. He's like, no, I killed Paul Allen. But because all these people look the same, you can't tell who's the real Paul Allen, who's the real Patrick Bateman.
All these people look the same. And I think you might be right that he thinks that
he thinks that he killed Paul Allen, but that's somebody else.
He thinks he killed Paul Allen. That he ended up being somebody else because of the fact that Paul Allen is so known by people. Like Patrick might not have any connection to Paul Allen because Paul Allen is highly regarded and people do not like.
Wasn't there a scene though in that when they're comparing what's it called? Business cards? Doesn't Paul Allen flip up his and it says Paul Allen on the business card?
That's something we had. I have to go back and look. I don't know. That would completely destroy my.
Yeah. I was gonna say because I'm pretty sure because that's the card he's reading is the Paul Allen one where he's like, oh my god, it even has a watermark.
Yeah, damn. My theory might have. But I do think that he abused the sex workers. The weird thing, I think he killed the homeless man and his dog.
Yeah.
I don't think that he kills Christy.
I think he does.
I would disagree. I don't, because of the fact that he goes back to that apartment and there's nothing in there. That's what I'm starting to think. Like
that's why I think my theory could be right, where it's because everybody who works like the high-rise building, you can pay them off to be like, nothing happened. They can clean it up easily.
That's fair.
I think it's the whole idea of the rich can get away with a lot of shit that we can't get away with, like us middle class or lower class people couldn't get away with. And the whole idea of, oh, he's got rich parents, he's got money makes things disappear in thin air. So the whole idea that like he could use his money and still be a nobody, I think that's really what the story is about.
See, I think the nature of the deaths is why I lean towards it wasn't real. Like him eating Christy like that in that moment, and then chasing after her with a chainsaw. No one coming out hearing.
To be fair, I don't think anyone lives in that apartment building.
It could be that. And then he drops it on her. I mean, that's just kind of where I'm like, I don't know if that's believable.
I think I'm still gonna go with the fact that like I think some things are true and some things are not true.
Yeah.
I think the over the top elaborate things are the stuff that he wants to do, but I do think he does end up murdering Christy. Maybe it's in a way that's not as elaborate as he thinks it is, but she's still dead.
Could be. But yeah, like you said, the cat obviously not real.
Obviously not.
I don't actually think the anything in the police chase. I don't think the police chase happened. I do think he probably murdered a security guard. That's one of those numbers. Like he's probably walking around and he was trying to get to his office. Security guard stopping him because he doesn't know who he is. Security guard trying to stop him. He just kills him and goes up to his office.
He kills a janitor when he tries to stop him as well.
So like that is more like believable to me. But then it's hard to. Now I'm like I'm coming to myself that it's not that because there's no one there. There's no like scene at the job. Gene's there, and didn't mention anything. There doesn't seem like there's any like commotion. I know that if in any place, if two people got murdered at your job, there would be some commotion.
Oh, that was overnight though, so everyone else might be home because that was an overnight janitor, and that was the security guard who would work overnight.
But there'd be cops there. There'd be cops there the next day.
To be fair, he in his head he did murder like a bunch of cops. So I kind of agree with you. I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think the police chase didn't happen. I think that's where he kind of started fabricating. Actually, I think that's what he does in his journals. That
that's what she's reading.
The little scribbles. I think that's what he's so used to writing down what he wants to do that he starts imagining an over the top scenario.
Yeah, but it could be happening in his head and he's writing it like
where he is in his head this big action hero that he wants to have this big shootout at the end. But realistically, he probably just killed a few people.
Yeah.
Nobody knows who he is. He's a loser. He's somebody who fantasizes about violence.
And it's a big city. Like a big city, things are moving fast. Like,
yep, and nobody even stops to notice. So I think it's a little bit in the middle. I think he does kill a few people because I think he definitely kills Christy. I still think he kills Christy, just not in the way it's shown in the movie.
Okay. And then anything else we wanted to talk about before we get to the Rotten Tomatoes?
I love how we can have an entire episode dedicated just on the end of this movie.
Yeah.
And come up with different, elaborate ways that this movie makes sense. I think a lot of people were so negative on this movie early on when it first came out because this movie is a cult classic now. Because of the fact that they didn't understand the satire of it. They thought that it was glorifying, living this way, living this extravagant life, murdering people, but it's not.
Yeah, it's a dive into what actually I'm a big believer in this of what it takes to grow, to live in that world of money and all that matters is how much you're making when you're having all these fancy things. If you don't have the newest thing, then you're not good enough. It takes a certain kind of psychotic tendencies. It's what I think about athletes like Tom Brady, Kobe Bryant, all these big name athletes, Michael Jordan. You have to have a level of psycho in you in order to be that great because it takes insane amounts of dedication and work, to the point where normal people, regular people don't do that. So it takes a certain
especially kind of personality. With in this movie, Patrick Bateman is someone who I'm pretty sure he comes from money.
Mm-hmm.
So
the idea of not having
not having to earn a living because he was acquired, a good life by having money. But even Christian Bale was Patrick Bateman is not someone to be looked up to.
No.
He's pathetic. He's a loser. And that's the thing. The movie always tells you, hey, Patrick Bateman is a loser.
Yeah, the movie is constantly letting you know that Patrick Bateman is nothing. And this is an entire journey of him realizing
that he's nothing.
Nothing. He mentions it earlier, I simply am not there. He's not actually
Literally, the first lines of the movie are him saying that there is not a Patrick Bateman.
Yeah, like he's nobody. But he in that moment he meant it as a way of like, I am not.
Who
I'm.
you think I am?
This is a mask. Like I'm.
And he's literally, the great thing is he's peeling off his overnight face mask.
Yeah, and I think the reason why people misconstrue this movie and maybe not enjoy it when they watch it is because it's probably this misconception of like that it's a slasher. I think that was what I thought before I first
it's not a slasher. It's really a character study.
Yeah, it's a character study into someone in this yuppie world, and it's a great movie, led and kind of hinged upon the performance of Christian Bale.
Oh yeah.
So like without Christian Bale, this movie might not work. But because of how he plays Patrick Bateman and how cold he can be in moments and have those moments of comedy where he has those like the outbursts that he had, or the one-liners that he makes, that performance when he's talking about Huey Lewis in the news, like that's all played really well to make you laugh and have a little smile, and then you get that dark moment that happens. Like it's
the great thing is during that scene also you see medication that he has to take. It's I believe it's an antipsychotic.
Yeah, so he's probably not taking. He's probably stopped taking the medicine.
Probably.
Which, if you have been prescribed medicine, please
take it.
I think it was Pete Davidson that said mental illness is not an excuse to act like a jackass.
I agree with that.
Take your medicine. Yeah, man. Let's go ahead and get to the Rotten Tomatoes. Not crazy, but there is there is a difference between the audience score and the Rotten Tomatoes score. The Rotten Tomatoes score is at 68%, and the audience score is actually at 85%. So I would
put this movie up in the 85 for critics.
And I think that what you were saying is probably true. Is a lot of critics went into this movie expecting something, not getting what they expected and taking it out on the movie, which is like a pet peeve of mine with movies. When you're talking about movies and you're like, that's not what I expected, then that's not important. What you expected is not important. It's not your art. It's not what.
How is the movie on its own merits?
Yeah. And I think
I also think when this movie came out, the idea of toxic masculinity wasn't really addressed. So I don't know if critics really knew. This is the only time I'm actually trying to defend the critics. I don't think they knew what the movie was trying to say. I think it took a decade or so before they realized, oh, this is what we're talking about in this movie.
Yeah, it's ahead of its time. It's a satire that's ahead of its time. At the time it was making, it was pointing at something that the public wasn't ready to hear. And I think now this movie, it's probably the reason why the audience rating is so high, is because
a lot of people watch it when they're older.
Where we are as a society now, and how we do kind of point out more like toxic masculinity things, and people who are like this are known, and I think more men do their best to not portray not be like.
I think this movie works completely well more now than it did back in the day, especially with the Andrew Tates of the world being around, and you realize, oh, that's what fucking Patrick Bateman was talking about.
Yeah, it's what I guess what those red pillars think that is masculine, the having all these fancy things. It's not. What's important is
your character,
being comfortable with who you are. Because if you're not comfortable with who you are, then you're constantly worried about what people think of you, and then that's a horrible.
And that's literally Patrick Bateman to a T.
But yeah, man, this is a good one. This is a great one to start with. Let's go ahead and preview the next one. Kind of going in this 90s 2000s era. We're gonna stay there, right?
Yeah, because if you guys know, last week we talked about the 1998 film Urban Legend, but we are now going to talk next week on the Kevin Williamson written, I believe it's 1997, which is hold on, let me make sure that year is right. If not, then we can cut it out a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up right now. 1998, so same year.
All right, so it is the same year. Okay. Oh my god, dude, I'm so tired. I forgot the title.
The Faculty.
Faculty. There we go. Dude, I'm exhausted.
I'm excited now.
Yep.
I haven't seen this.
3, 2, 1. All right, so next week, since we talked about Urban Legend, we are going back to another 98 classic, in my opinion, Robert Rodriguez's The Faculty, written by Kevin Williamson. If you guys don't know what this movie is, please go watch it. It is such a fun movie with a guy with a stellar cast.
Yeah, this is a movie that I have not seen, and I like this '90s thing that we're on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Robert Rodriguez is a name that I love. Kevin Williamson is a name that I love. You got Jordana Brewster. Love her. Clea Duvall. I mean, she's someone that like pops up a lot. Josh Hartnett, Salma Hayek. Like this thing is packed.
It's got Robert Patrick in it. It's got the T-1000 in this movie.
Yeah, man. It's got everybody in it. So I'm looking forward to checking this one out.
Elijah Wood, like a pre-Frodo Elijah Wood.
This is. I'm excited, and I'm not gonna read nothing. I don't want to know what this movie is about. I'm going to just dive into it.
Yes. And also, guys, after we do The Faculty, we are going to start our 2024 horror movies, and I believe we're starting with Late Night with the Devil. Correct?
Late Night with the Devil will be the episode after The Faculty, and that'll start our run on 2024 films, which we'll try and keep up with as they come out. Also.
Yeah.
Obviously, with those, I think we will probably not go too deep into spoilers like we do with these older films, but we'll definitely
we can go into spoilers if the movie is out on VOD. So for Late Night of the Devil, I believe we can go into spoilers. The other ones we may want to wait to go into spoilers.
Yeah.
But if not, we can also have a spoiler warning beforehand.
Yeah, spoiler warning. Boom. Yeah. Can't blame us if you get spoiled.
Nope.
But yeah, man, I'm excited for that coming up. It's gonna be fun. Getting into more horror, especially getting into more like of the more recent horror. We tackled this 90s era, and we had a classic, we had a 80s classic, had some 90s classics.
That is funny that it kind of went from a classic 60s movie to an 80s movie to the 90s, and now we're doing kind of newer movies. It's like a pattern of horror.
Let's do it. It's gonna be, there's so much we can get into, and then so yeah, man, please in the comments let us know, what did you think about the film, about American Psycho? What movies you guys want to, if there's any suggestions that you guys have, drop them down in the comments. Subscribe to Welcome to Primetime, and as always, stay scared.
Stay scared.